Good evening, race fans, and welcome back here to the CIL, the Collegiate iRacing League, for tonight, the Oval finale at Phoenix Raceway. It's the old one, the one from 2008 that iRacing renders. You see that little grass in the dog leg, and we have a good one on tap for you here tonight. Joining me up in the booth, as always, Joshua Crane and John Price. Happy to be with you guys, and guys, another finale. Are we excited?
Yeah, definitely excited for this one. Finished up the Road Series last week with an epic finale out in the depths of Brazil in Sao Paulo at Interlagos. An amazing battle between Clank and Campbell to finish out the championship there. Clank coming away with the Students' Championship in the road side, and Jeremy Rogers for A&M carrying out the championship on the alumni side. So tonight, as you mentioned, Jarrett, down here in Phoenix, pretty hot track, temperature 133 degrees. And Josh, these guys have a bit of a points battle on their hands.
It is the heat not only in the pavement, but on the track in the standings. Tonight, we're looking at the students. It's going to be UNC Charlotte trying to hold off a hard-charging Florida International University. And Christian Gomez has been putting on a clinic and consistency for FIU. Jared Kaler, though, also shown a ton of speed and a lot of consistency, pace, and poise in that car, the UNC Charlotte Toyota Camry. And those are going to be something to watch. If Kaler wins the race, obviously it's going to be his trophy for the season to take home at the end. And that will work for position 1, 2, 4, but in fact, also 5th. In fact, if he finishes 5th, they would tie. FIU and UNC Charlotte would tie, and the tiebreaker going to Jared Kaler and UNC Charlotte. But then we say if FIU can pull out the win, then that's going to be their championship if Jared Kaler finishes a little further down. Also, if Jared Kaler finishes 10th or below, then FIU can win the championship just with a second place finish. But guys, it's going to be really hard with this field, this track temperature, and these cars to get up there for FIU and put themselves in that first or second position.
Yeah, difficult indeed. This setup on these cars tonight, a little bit tight on entry, a little bit loose in exit, so keep your eyes peeled for cars laying big black lines on the exit of turns 2 and turns 4. Guys really exercising throttle management to try to keep the car under wraps tonight. We saw quite a few spins in practice as a few guys get set to head out here in qualifying. You see a little wiggle there already from Henry Morse, getting a little bit of heat into those tires for the number 44 University of Cal Berkeley car. But yeah, guys are getting to grips with this setup. Quite a few guys have practiced this, and it's a very unique track with that little kink there between turns 2 and turns 3. So a little bit of difference here on the Legacy setup. Obviously, you got the grass on the infield as well. A couple trouble areas. Watch for guys getting pinched down into the corner, and with the entry understeer in these cars, watch them for getting pinched up high as well on corner entry in turns 1 and 3. But very interested to see how this plays out tonight. Got a pretty big field. I'm showing close to, I think, 26 cars in the field tonight. Obviously, a combination of alumni and students. I'm thinking we've got about 7 or 8 alumni in there. And Jarrett, a little interesting tidbit. The top 3 in points right now, alumni, none of them have any wins to their name. Meanwhile, Cal State Long Beach, I think it was San Diego, has 3 wins in the last 3 races for the alumni. So pretty unique point standing going on down there.
Yeah, so you will notice if you're new to the CIL, the windshield banners and spoilers are a little bit different on each of these cars. You'll see those red windshield banners and spoilers signifying the alumni drivers. They're also signified by the 3-digit numbers on their cars, whereas students, you'll have 2 or single-digit numbers with that green windshield banner and spoiler. So they're all on the track racing the same race, but obviously students competing against students, alumni against alumni. And like John just mentioned, pretty cool points battle there on the alumni side as well. So we'll try and keep you abreast of both of those as the night goes on. And before we get to all of that racing action, we got to send it over to the good folks at NextBookIt, who've been the title sponsor for the CIL all season long here in Season 2. We'll hear from them, and we'll bring you right back to Phoenix Raceway. So as you just saw right there, NextBookIt connects book lovers with each other to buy and sell everything from textbooks to fiction and everything in between. For every account that is created with the code CIL2021, CIL2021, NextBookIt will put $5 toward the CIL Scholarship Fund, and that gets directly redistributed right back to the drivers you see on track tonight. If drivers need a different car, if they need a different track, that is provided here by the CIL Scholarship Fund provided by NextBookIt. It's a great thing they've been doing for us season 1 and 2 now. So great to have them on board with us. And Josh, looks like we got a couple graduates we need to give a shout out to here tonight.
Exactly. Also doing great things, graduating. That's right. These students you see across your screen: Cody Fadenauer, Alexander Klenk, Colby Sherwood, Maximilian Bui, and Avery Walker, all completing their respective degrees that you see on screen. And actually, Alexander Klenk will continue on to, after his BS there in aerospace engineering, you can see he will complete a master's at Worcester Polytechnic University. So guys, these guys crossing the finish line not only on track, but in the classroom. It's very important. We'd love to see it here in the Collegiate iRacing League. Very exciting to see these guys, chase, pursue, achieve their goals, and move on to the next thing, all while hanging out here in Collegiate iRacing League and sticking with us, going fast on track. Absolutely fantastic there to see from those guys.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic indeed. And they've been putting their speed on display all season long. Alexander Klenk, we mentioned him earlier, winning the Road Series championship. And I think he won the championship in season 1 as well in the LMP2s. But I'd have to go back and check that. I know it was very close between him and Ted Burns. But anyways, back to the qualifying action here on track. At the top of your field right now is going to be FIU, car number 65, Christian Gomez, and Jared Kaler in second place. So you're 2 points leaders right now in swapping positions. So Christian Gomez, second in points, first in the grid position, and Jared Kaler going to be starting on his outside on second position, while he is first in points, 8 points ahead in the championship. Michael Koholich on track right now, trying to steal that pole position away, but it is pretty tight up there at the front. The top 4 cars covered by less than 500ths of a second, so pretty tight in qualifying so far. UNT showing a good position right now, up there in 5th, and I think this is only the second race for that 32 machine, so Ryan Lusich looking pretty good here tonight. Other cars throughout the field doing pretty well in qualifying as well. Derek Jennings for GCU, Gage Anderson for UTA, Matthew Norberg for NC State in 8th, and right now it's John Tyndall and Carl Lemkool 9th and 10th. Carl, the leading alumni car in the field so far tonight. Jeremy Rogers, another 2 cars behind after the FIU car driven by Esteban Munoz. And then Nick Trollman. I got to correct myself earlier, guys. I said that it was San Diego State that won those last 3 wins, and Nick Trollman's going to be mad at me if I said that, because it was indeed him for Cal State Long Beach that did win it, so I had it right the first time, so I apologize to Nick Trollman for that one, but he's going to be starting 3rd on the alumni field tonight. And Josh, our winner from the Road Series in 15th, Alexander Klenk.
Alexander Klenk, certainly, and coming into the oval side and getting his feet wet, has been showing a little bit of success. And John, I'll go back to what you started with. You mentioned it. No surprise that FIU and UNC Charlotte are on top of the scoring pylon right now, and not separated by much. You think these guys didn't spend all weekend practicing, figuring out the setup, figuring out this track, trying to learn its quirks. Yeah, they sure did. I talked to that was FIU and Christian Gomez there, who you'll see in the 65 machine for them, for Panther Esports. And he said, yeah, the gap is a bit steep, but we got to put ourselves in the best position to win the championship. And we're going to go, and that means leading and winning the race. Guys, he is committed to dominating this thing as best he can. He said, if we're going to fail, we're going to fail in the most beautiful way. He said, to quote actually Liverpool coach Jurgen Klopp, he said, I'm going to go down swinging, and I'm going to do the best I can. So absolutely tenacious there from FIU, from Panther Esports, and that whole group. And guys, really excited to see and eager to see what they do tonight.
Definitely. Well, let's run through your starting grid as we get set to rock and roll from this 1 mile Phoenix Raceway. Christian Gomez from FIU up there at the top, and he's got to stay there all night long. Jared Kaler from UNC Charlotte will roll off on his outside in position number 2. Michael Koholich from Angelo State starting in 3rd. Might be my pick to win tonight, guys. I think Koholich maybe sneaks through in pit strategy, so pay attention to the 4 car. John Campbell from Randolph Community College rolling off 4th. Ryan Lucic from North Texas in 5th. Derek Jennings from Grand Canyon in 6th. Gage Anderson, a fan favorite, don't count him out just yet. He will roll off 7th from UT Arlington. Matthew Nordberg from NC State rolls off in 8th. Starting 9th here tonight is John Tyndall from VCU. Carl Lemkool on his outside from St. Louis University. One of 2 brothers in the field here tonight. Esteban Munoz from FIU rolling off 9th. And Jeremy Rogers will start this one in 12th. Continuing on down your starting grid, Henry Morse will roll off 13th here tonight. 14th is Nick Trollman from Cal State Long Beach. We heard him mention 3 straight wins, so he's going to try and make it 4 in the alumni category here tonight. Alexander Klink from WPI rolls off 15th. Colby Sherwood 16th. Thomas Toomey 17th. Downtown Kenny Brown in 18th. 19th is Alejandro Diaz. And rounding out your top 20 is Nathan Kuhl. Scott Ratliff and Grant Lemkool make up 21st and 22nd. Nick Beaver all the way back there in 23rd. Ryan Fenty in 24th. And rounding out your field is going to be Avery Walker and Jeff P. John?
Yeah, interesting to see Nick Beaver starting back there from the back. Also interesting to see that he did set a time, but it was a 43-second time, which is kind of strange. You kind of see guys either choose to do qualifying or not. Nick Beaver, we know with all that short track experience, having plenty of experience coming into a race such as this one, he's very familiar with starting and leading a field. We'll see how good he is at overtaking an entire field as we come rounds turns 3 and 4, and the pace car is going to dive in the pits.
That's right. Coming to the green flag, you can see your 2 championship fighters on the front row. The green flag in the air, and FIU out to a car length lead. They'll slide into turn 1, 2x2.
Yeah, San Angelo State down low trying to put a move on UNC Charlotte early on in this race. They are door-to-door right now. Looks like Angelo State and UNC pretty even on the corner exit as they come through the little dogleg here. You see the number 30 car in the background there. Sean Campbell trying to get on the action as well. They are still side by side through turns 3 and 4 with now Grand Canyon University getting on the action. All the cars trying to get on this lead car, this top 5 position battle right now.
Caution. What do you got now?
And going into turn 1, you can see Derek Jennings there, Grand Canyon University. And I think we can see Grant Lemkool from St. Louis University, actually brother, sliding in there. So it looks like he was up high. Nick Beaver trying to work underneath, maybe a little bit loose, and just got sideways. And Nick Beaver collected in that. And it looks like another maybe Nathan Kuhl from Bemidji State involved there. So, yeah, Grant just a little bit loose coming off that corner. And, guys, we might see that a couple more times this evening.
Yeah, and you see him get very loose really early in the corner, too. And the car didn't try to snap on him anything, so he was holding that slide pretty well, but then just ran out of steering lock and then ended up nosing into that inside wall and taking out Nick Beaver as well. So you mentioned the fast repair, so we'll see if Nick Beaver's going to dive down in there and get that done already this evening. 3 laps in, first caution, not something that we're too terribly unfamiliar with, and certainly with this setup and how loose it is on corner exit. We may see a few more of those tonight, Jarrett, but overall I was pretty impressed with how clean these guys were at the front of the pack.
Yeah, you saw guys kind of slide into that single file lane, and you know who really liked to see that is the 65 car. Saw the 58 being challenged by the 4 and the 30. We know that Gomez needs a couple cars in between him and Kaler and a win, so he needs help. He can't just beat Jared Kaler here tonight by himself. He's going to need a little help from the guys behind, and in that first run, we saw the 4 and the 30 have a little bit of speed to give the 58, Josh.
They do, certainly, and guys are going to be trying to pay attention to what their competitors are doing around them, where they're running their lines and exiting the corners, and trying to understand how they race each other, because that's going to be information they need. Something I did know, guys, FIU and Christian Gomez was super quick out of the gate, but he's going to need some help. He's going to have that 58 machine that's in his mirror shuffled back a little bit. We talked about the 58 has to finish behind 5th place, so in 6th place or further down the order to give FIU a chance at the championship.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be interesting. I think there's a couple cars in there that could get up there and upset that UNC Charlotte machine, but generally speaking, that number 4 car and that number 30 car both really clean drivers, both Koholich and Campbell. Really not involved in too many incidents so far this year, at least none that they were the cause of for sure. And so seeing them put that 58 car machine in the wall is pretty unlikely, I think, unless somebody makes a really egregious error. But so far, so good up there at the front of the field. Guys are starting to get paired up now. I think I see those pace car lights are out, so we should be going green flag racing again here at the end of this lap. The rest of the field going 2x2 on down the lane.
Yeah, and they'll get all set and get queued up here. It's the dog leg, the backstretch here at Phoenix. Not entirely straight, and so that's something that you'll see guys will have to choose their line. How far do they want to run wide, and how do they want to defend or block, if you're an oval fan, down into turn 3. That's going to be an area we see passes. Jared, I think we are coming to the green flag. Tell us what we see.
So coming off in turns 3 and 4, field to be in the hands of Christian Gomez in the 65. He'll get to choose when to restart as soon as that pace car takes that left-hand turn onto pit lane. So we'll see if he gets a good jump here on the 58. We saw it on the first start, and this time not as much. Jared Kaler with an excellent run out on that top side, and they'll be side by side in turn 1.
Down in turn 1, they fan out a little bit towards the back, but everybody pretty even keeled, definitely side by side. And at the front as well, not much quarter given. Jared Kaler knows it's an opportunity to get out in front here. Christian Gomez is going to go in a little bit deep, a little bit of a slide job, and it looks like he's going to put that Chevy behind him, and a touch. The championship leaders do touch side by side. Lap car in the way. Into the wall goes Christian Gomez, and big contact there, and continues going down the front stretch.
Oh man, I can't imagine that Jared Kaler's going to be too happy about that. Or sorry, excuse me, Gomez is going to be too happy about that one. They were pretty much nose to tail mid-corner there, and either one of the two, Gomez was just a little bit more hesitant on throttle than Kaler expected. He just nosed right into the rear, and with this setup in this car, you can't be making contact nose to tail mid-corner. So we see it there. That was the initial contact. There's the second piece of contact that Gomez still came off the worst of the two cars on, and still not getting it gathered up. A number of other cars, Henry Morse, the 26, Ryan Fenty, Jeremy Rogers stopped dead on track, Alexander Klenk turned sideways, a number of cars involved there. Looks like the 28 car, I think that's going to be John Tyndall in that VCU machine, also involved, and man, that just about swallowed half the field.
Yeah, and I can walk you exactly through what was going on there. We saw that the FIU machine got up into a little bit of a slide job there and tried to make it stick, so he had to, guys, be later on the gas to get out of that corner, and Jared Kaler knows that and wants to get that spot. Maybe a little bit of an informative tap to let him know he's there, but guys, with the iRacing cars model and net code, we know that there's really no opportunity to tap. It usually results in something like that, a spin, a car going around. So these guys will have their fast repair, they'll use it, and he's got 60 laps to make up, but I think in that situation I would have looked for the 58 machine to check up a little bit, probably a little bit early to start running like that. So we'll see how those two get on. And guys, John, Jarrett, these guys are racers, and I don't think that Christian Gomez and FIU are going to forget about that if we come back later in the race. So certainly these guys are going to be trying their best to get up front, get that championship. They've worked all season long, since April to put these cars in this position, and they want to make sure that they earn their spot as high as they can be.
Definitely. You talked about the frustration. You can see it on Christian Gomez's face right here as we look at the onboard camera in the Panther Esports machine. And guys, you mentioned it, just kind of early to be making that move if you're Jared Kaler. We haven't really seen that aggressive racing out of Kaler, but the Panther Esports team definitely not out of it just yet. You mentioned 60 laps to go, still on the lead lap, and thankfully had that fast repair in his back pocket. Also, with an onboard camera here tonight is going to be Jared Kaler from UNC Charlotte. You're on board with him right now. Good looking spot right there as he's holding on to that second position. 2 laps to go under this yellow flag. And another driver that I'm sure everyone is going to want to see. Really a fan favorite in these past couple weeks because of that full motion rig is Carl Lemkel, and you can see him right there with the VR goggles, and the steering wheel is attached this time. If you've seen that clip, Carl got in an accident and the wheel popped right off of the base, and kind of hard when you're in VR to get that thing reattached.
Yeah, definitely difficult, and especially when you've broken the 3D mount that he had printed that it was attached to. So he says that he has re-engineered that mount, added a lot more borders, a little bit more thickness to that 3D print, and you can see the rig there moving left and right, and just how violent of a motion that you can imagine how that might be in the event of an accident. That was just weaving the car back and forth at slow speed. And he's driving that in pretty much a Formula car setup. You see how elevated his feet are and how elevated the steering wheel is. So maybe he just prefers that driving position when it comes to the Cup cars. And I can't say that I dislike that driving position too much, Jarrett. But with the pace car lights out, we are in turn 3 and getting ready to go again.
So Michael Kolich going to control this restart here in the number 4 machine. After our second caution of the day, we saw Jared Kaler get an excellent restart last time. We'll see if he can get another one right here from high up above Phoenix Raceway. We're going to get a good look at this restart. Here goes the 4, here goes the 58, and here comes Matthew Nordberg. They're in third, almost going to give a push to the leader. Good restart by them.
And everybody making their way down into turn 1. You see NC State there. You see Randolph there. UNC Charlotte on the outside. Looking back, you can see Worcester, Polytechnic, Texas A&M pounding their way down through the Dawn Way down into turn 3. And we see Jared Kaler looking for a way around that number 4 car. But it looks like he's content to ride there for the time being. NC State, though, trying to get all that traction underneath the Randolph machine. If he can get that spot, that will be important. That team, NC State, the Wolfpack, trying to finish top 5 in points this season. A little bit of checkup there. It's tough, guys. A little bit of loose off the corner. And he'll slide back. Worcester Polytechnic will try to get by, and Blaze the Horse from UT Arlington will also try a big block right there. Don't know if it's that time of the race to block. Nick Trollman checking up, as well as Texas A&M. You see Cal State Long Beach has an opportunity to win this championship for the alumni, but has to keep all defenders on the race car to do so.
Yeah, that 76 machine getting a little bit antsy here early in the race. 13 laps in and already up into the wall. Not what you want to see. I got the 69 car getting a little bit loose off of turn 2 as well. He's going to lose a handful of positions. And Josh, just a couple laps ago, Alexander Klenk put a move on the 91 machine. That's going to be the UTA car driven by Gage Anderson. And then inherited that position after NC State got loose. And now he's running up there in 4th position for the time being, trying to hunt down the leaders. And with a decent gap behind him, he's got pretty much clear track in front, clear track behind, and plenty of space to work with. No risk of getting hit by any other cars around there. Meanwhile, up at the lead, everybody is nose to tail. But we see Gage Anderson and NC State. This battle's still going on back here for 5th and 6th in the student category. Nick Trollman and Jeremy Rogers getting up next to each other in the alumni category as well. So 2 different battles between 2 different classes going on here. And we see Nick Beaver getting involved now. Nick Beaver involved in that original accident, the first caution, and he's putting a move on Nick Trollman.
Yeah, there you see it there. He's sliding under the North Dakota State University machine, that Bison machine there. And going into turn 3 as you ride on board the High Line, will have a little bit of advantage, a little bit more traction out of this corner, but those guys racing side by side. And very respectful racing, doing it in the process. But I'll tell you who loves that is Jeremy Rogers, that A&M machine. You saw him in front. Back in front of everyone is the 4 machine, Michael Kaholich, Angelo State University, followed by Jared Kaler, guys. I did notice, guys, that back in the field, the 65 machine was trying to come back and was having a little bit of trouble, even with his own teammate, just getting around. You'd think those guys would be able to discuss as the FIU machine needs to get up front. But it looks like we are going to have another caution here, almost a third of the way through this one, as we try and see. It looks like the 9 machine just got a little bit loose off of the corner all by himself. And so that is one way to get around your teammate, and that will be probably an end of line for that machine. So Panther Esports fielding 1 competitor, trying to climb his way up through the field, and still in the hunt for that championship, guys.
Yeah, you know what? That's going to reset. That's going to reset Christian Gomez on his attempt to retake all this field. He's sitting down there in 13th for the time being. I think he made up some spots off that previous restart after he was involved in that original incident with Jared Kaler, but so far this is going to be a good thing for him. It's going to give him an opportunity to cool his tires down and get a feel for Kenny Brown and Ryan Fenty, the 2 cars he's got to clear before he's going to be in P11 and then challenge Derek Jennings for Grand Canyon University for that final top 10 position. I know he's not going to be satisfied with that, though. He wants to retake that top position from Jared Kaler. Jared Kaler not owning that position right now as it is. Michael Koholich still sitting up there in the lead for San Angelo State. So it's San Angelo, then UNC Charlotte, and then Shondi Campbell for Randolph Community College, then Alexander Klenk for Worcester Polytechnic University. Glad to see Klenk moving up the field. Right now he's got a good hold on that hard charger award. He started in 15th position and has moved his way up to 4th. A couple other guys with some really great runs. I'm looking at Nick Beaver start 23rd. We mentioned about this top of the broadcast with that 43-second qualifying lap. Might have just been stuck in first gear the whole time, and now he's moved his way up there to 8th. So Jared's looking good for him so far.
Yeah, and I tell you what, as I was listening to our onboard here with Michael Koholich, if you listen really closely, he's got the clutch in, guys. I think Koholich thinks we're going to get a couple more yellows. He might be able to go the entire distance without heading down pit lane.
That is pretty noteworthy. I wonder if his tires will go the entire distance competitively without going down pit lane, but we'll see here. I know that there was a variety of predictions from drivers before this race, some with a few cautions and some with many cautions. And so depending on what your strategy is, maybe you'd like just to hang out at the front, never come down pit road.
Yeah, never come down pit road is an option, I suppose. We've seen it done successfully in the past. Austin Farr, a few races ago, managed to stay on that same set of tires on that original tank of fuel, never pit, and win the race. And it was an expertly executed strategy, but you do have to have plenty of caution laps to make that one viable. So Jarrett cars are going to get paired up here, I think, and we're going through turns 3 and 4 right now, so we'll see what they choose to do here as we get closer to this restart. But one of the things that I found interesting on that on this last restart was how aggressive Jared Kaler is on these restarts. He's getting really good jumps off the car in front. He's able to he's able to read them really effectively and either just pick the right gear or otherwise he's getting great restarts.
Yeah, he is, and we know that he's no stranger to the front, to timing these restarts. And man, a little bit like Joey Logano, he's just used to being at the front and being competitive when that green flag drops at any point during the race.
Yeah, we've seen him challenge the likes of Austin Farr. Austin Farr not with us tonight from the University of Tennessee, and Farr's been really one of those drivers really good on the restarts, especially those short track restarts. But Kaler's been able to keep up with them, so you're seeing it pay off for the 58 team from UNC Charlotte, able to make those restarts work. And you can ask guys their different strategies. Some might go high in these corners to try and get that drive off. Some might stay right on that yellow line like Michael Koholich is right now. Pace car going to take that hard left-hand turn onto pit lane, and we'll get racing here again from Phoenix. 40 laps to go when we hit the stripe here. And Koholich going to try and get a good little run here. The 30 from Sean Campbell gets a good little jump. He might have a spot if he wants it. 2x2 as they head into 1.
Yeah, Sean Campbell not quite sliding in right there. You can see Jared Kaler. He knows being down low is where he wants to be. He's just going to ride right in the tire tracks of that Ford Mustang. Angelo State University and UNC Charlotte out to a couple of car length gap as they go to complete their first circuit after the green flag. Alexander Klenk under fire from Gage Anderson in that 91 machine. That's the University of Texas at Arlington trying to make that pass. Both of these drivers being watched by the Wolfpack and North Dakota State University. You can see right there. And it also looks like we have a car stopped off of turn 4.
Yeah, car stopped off of 4. That's going to be the number 47 machine driven by, let me find him on my roster here, 747 machine. So Scott Ratliff, kind of hard to see that 7. He really likes to push that 47. That looked like UNT getting into the bottom left quarter panel of the 747 car from Pitt State. Scott Ratliff driving that car. And yeah, a bit of a strange one. It looked like Scott was in the correct groove and UNT kind of just was in a place that I think Scott didn't expect him to be in. So a little bit difficult. We'll see it better from this angle up top. So 740 machine. Oh, he's actually loose. He was loose mid-corner and was coming down into UNT. So Scott Ratliff not exercising perfect throttle management. Looked like he might have saved that slide if the UNT machine wasn't there, but unfortunately it resulted in contact, and he's going to drop to the back of the field. I think that might be, though, his first instance so far tonight, Josh, and he'll be able to apply that fast repair and get back out there.
He will, and Scott Ratliff will be back on track for Pittsburgh State. He'll be able to get that car cleaned up with full fuel. Won't have to hold the clutch in like our leader right here, and be able to be all set probably to the end, right? That's great if these guys do decide they need to come down pit road. They don't. In fact, it looks like, speaking of pit road, we're going to see FIU deciding it's time for perhaps that second set of tires, as well as Ryan Fenty from St. Joe's University. So all the way down to that final pit box is going to be our second place championship contender.
Yeah, a number of different cars in the pit lane. Henry Morse was in the pit lane as well, and I caught a couple other cars. Number 11, Kenny Brown, downtown Kenny Brown, also in the pit lane, getting a new fresh set of tires and fresh Sunoco fuel into that car. Meanwhile, back up at the front, still Michael Gaholich, been leading this race ever since that second caution a handful of laps to go. Jared Kaler, we'll see what he can do on one of these restarts again, because on that restart where Christian Gomez was leading the field away, it looks like Kaler did have a better run into the first corner. So whether that means he slightly jumped the start or just read Gomez's car, or maybe Gomez got a little bit of wheel spin off the start's another possibility. But either way, Jared Kaler has been really good on these restarts so far. Sean Campbell's been pretty patient there in third most of this race, not really challenging too hard, not really having to defend too hard either, just kind of running his own race for the time being. And so far, that's netted him a podium, up one spot after starting in fourth. But Alexander Klenk, he knows he can't really win this championship, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to win this race, guys. He's surely gonna try to challenge Sean Campbell, Jared Kaler, and Michael Kolich for this win.
Hi.
And Christian Gomez going to join us up in the booth now. And we just saw you come down pit road. Were you getting that second set of tires on there?
The first set, you mean?
First set.
Yeah, I've been slicing and dicing my way up with the old set. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit. Walk us through that little contact that you had with Jared there at the start. Were you just a little bit later on the throttle than you think you might have expected?
It wasn't
there on
little.
The corner exit?
The force feedback told me it wasn't little contact. I no comment. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, back to the race at hand, though. Can you think you can make it up there from 18th in the field? We've seen it happen before. Crazier things have surely happened.
Give me a minute.
All right. We'll keep watching then.
All right, so Christian Gomez right there, pretty locked on in here tonight. And I think you could just hear the frustration in his voice, too. Kind of put him on the spot a little bit there, but you thought that was a pretty hard hit from the leader, or from your points leader, excuse me, Jared Kaler, who is on the top side for this restart with the lights off on the pace car, that Ford Mustang pace car here at Phoenix. As they head through the dog leg and get ready to go to 3 and 4. Guys, before we hit this restart, yes or no, was that the right move to head back further behind traffic to get those fresh tires?
I'm going to go with a yes for the 65 machine. It's going to give him some better options later into this race, as other guys have to come down pit lane to take a new set of tires if we do not hit the number of cautions. So I like the choice from him.
Yeah, I concur as we get ready to go green here. 2 restart experts on the front row. A little bit of a jump by the 4, but mostly even. Still up to the door is the 58 machine as they dive down into the first turn. A lot of familiar names up there. Kaler again with that move. He likes that move down to the low side to try and block off the Randall machine. Everybody else in behind playing nicely too wide as they come off the corner. See a couple cars there. Worcester Polytechnic trying to hold off Randolph. Randolph looking to that inside. Can he get traction off the bottom of this corner? That Toyota Camry down there on that white line, hooked up. Will he be able, not quite at the line, but will he be able to go deeper into turn 1?
Yeah, Alex actually got the position on Randolph College out of turn 2 on that restart lap. And now Sean Campbell's putting a move back on that 37 machine. So WPI gaining a position and then dropping back down again, back into 4th spot. So that final podium position is a pretty hot topic right now. In NC State, the 76 machine, Matthew Norbert getting involved in here as well. And then 6th place is belonging currently to the UTA machine driven by Gage Anderson, trying to challenge for that 5th position. These guys are pretty much nip and tuck right here. You'll notice a couple guys are pretty late on the brakes into the corner, specifically the guy we're riding on board with right now, Nick Beaver. You'll watch and see just how much he closes up on the car in front in the corner entry a lot of the time. We'll see if he doesn't go for the move here into turn 3 with some late braking action into the corner, and it's able to slide up in front of him and steal away that position. Well done from Nick Beaver.
I say very well done. So right there, he made the decision to sacrifice a little bit of that mid-corner speed, get a drive off. However, looks like Blaze the Horse making the challenge back on the outside. Jeremy Rogers trying to figure out who's going to make a hole that he can slide through behind in that 112 Texas A&M machine. Gage Anderson a little bit loose off. That's going to give an opportunity to the North Dakota State machine, as well as some of the drivers behind. See Cal State Long Beach trying to play through there. We talked about they need a clean race tonight. Nick Trollman in that machine. And John Tyndall, you see, for VCU in the 28 machine. Recently new father here within the last year. And so a lot of these guys trying to make work and get through where they can see between these drivers.
And now we've got our fifth caution coming out for the second time tonight, belonging to Grant Lemcool. I'm gonna guess it again before we've seen the instant. Getting a little bit loose on corner exit and turn 4 here. Just a little bit impatient with the throttle. So we're in the corner, and let's see when we get loose. We're gonna get loose right about now, it looks like, and he tried to correct it. It snapped back again, and then into the inside wall. So not quite a carbon copy of what we saw before, Jarrett, but not too far off for the brother of Carl Lemke here racing with us tonight.
Yeah, and you called it there, John, getting loose off the corner. We talked about it in practice. We saw it in qualifying. Just how patient you have to be with the throttle here at Phoenix. And it's tough. You get a run on the guy, and you just want to mash that throttle and squeeze on by him. But you got to be just ever so slightly a little more patient. A lot of guys wanting to just go now. The guys at the front able to do it. You're seeing the guys work. You saw the 30 machine of Campbell get loose off of turn 2 as here come the leaders down pit road, it looks like, guys.
Yeah, now I'm expecting Christian Gomez to stay out and inherit this lead, and indeed it looks like that's what he's going to do. Actually, he's not quite inheriting the lead. I think he's got Carl Lemcool just in front of him, but for the student class, more critically, that will also give him the lead. And given that his tires only have 4 or 5 laps on them, he's actually in a pretty good spot here, because by the time that everybody else has made their way through the field, they'll pretty much be on the same age of tires at that point, give or take a few laps. So I think this positions FIU pretty well here towards the end of this race. Josh?
I think that they are as well. So they're in a position. He's chosen his strategy. He's going to try to be up front here on a little bit used tires. And then what FIU and Gomez are hoping for at the end is that we can get to a final caution where we all come down pit road, maybe later together or on equal equipment. So that's going to be what we watch for from these guys. And that's probably their best opportunity. Now, you do see there are a few cars behind FIU here. And so what that is going to be is an opportunity for our FIU Panther Esports driver to get up to the front, put himself in position to that win, just like he talked about, just like he planned, and then see if he can maintain that gap, that positional gap back down to UNC Charlotte and Jared Taylor.
Yeah, maintaining that gap will be critical, but he's got a good half dozen cars he needs to clear for Jared Kaler to get back up there. So we'll see if he can do it. Jared Kaler's got the speed in that car so far tonight, not really putting a wheel wrong. Haven't really seen him get loose off of the corners either. Michael Kaholich on the radio chatting to guys as well. And you know who he reminds me of a little bit earlier in the season? It was Austin Farr. We remember riding on board with him quite a bit. And watching his steering movements, just how smooth all of his inputs were, whether it was a throttle or a brake input or the steering input, all of them were very, very smooth movements. And it looks like Jared Kaler has maybe either learned on that or figured it out himself, and he's putting that on display here tonight. And I'm expecting that to keep his tires alive a little bit later into this race, Jared.
Yeah, and that's going to be so key. You talked about it, getting the tires on there. They do get 2 sets of Goodyear Eagles here tonight, so we'll see if anyone uses that second set. But right now, everyone on that first set, the 65, the 95, all these guys at the front are roughly on that first set. But like John mentioned, only a couple laps on them. We haven't really seen the tire fall off be all that bad in terms of these shorter runs. You guys might be A-okay at the front, and it might be the right move for Christian Gomez. A quick reminder for those of you following along with the points. If he finishes first, he needs Kaler to finish 6th or worse. Right now, if he sneaks into that first spot, Jared Kaler back there in 8th. So very tight points race here as we get set to go back green. Josh?
Yeah, exactly. We just did the math there, and as they run, they won't be like this for long, but Jared Kaler, UNC Charlotte, exactly 1 point ahead with that lead. So, guys, not much room for error. Anything can happen here as we come to this white flag.
come to this green flag, I believe he meant to say. Pace car going to take that left-hand turn on the pit lane one more time. And Carl
Green flag.
Lemcool, kind of a stranger to the front of the pack. He gets a great jump out in front of the 65. Gomez going to sneak in there and just say headed in turn 1. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I was kind of surprised that Carl went away with that level of a jump. I was expecting him almost to give up the position immediately to the 65 car because he knows what that points battle is in that student category. I think Gomez still wants that position, even for if it's not for points, it's for track position, and putting more cars between him and Kaler is always the goal here tonight. So we'll keep an eye on his lap times with the tires that he's got on that car and compare him to Jared Kaler's a little bit later in this race. Meanwhile, a little bit further back in the pack, actually, Jared Kaler's going to wheel with some cars back there right now on the Bemidji State machine. So that's not for position. That is for just track position, not class position, I should say. Now he's got, I think, Colby Sherwood in front, the Ohio State machine up front, a little bit high in the groove, a little bit of contact between the FIU machine and 095 St. Louis University. You might maybe need to remind these guys that they are not battling for class position right now. It's only track position, but kind of surprised to see a little bit of inter-class battle still side by side down in turn 1 and turn 2.
That's right, and I think that Gomez wants to put that car in clean air. It's a little bit of more downforce on these cars. We know how sensitive they are to clean and dirty air. Now everybody deep in the corner, Randolph extra deep. Not sure how he made that stick, but he will actually take the first student spot there. You see, now you mentioned the class battles, but that is for the students right there. And across the line is we're going to have a yellow flag, guys. Who got it across the line?
That was Sean Campbell getting the position across the line. So with 22 to go, Campbell will be starting in front of Gomez after this next restart. So we're looking at the 28 machine getting to the rear end of Gage Anderson. Gage Anderson getting turned by VCU John Tyndall, and then up into the outside wall. A number of other cars collected there. Bemidji State, 027 Nathan Cool under screen there as well. So we'll see the 28 car. Actually, no, I take that back. So that was not John Tyndall getting into the back of the 91 machine. That was the 91 machine, I think, getting tapped by the 027 on that right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, I think that was Bemidji State we saw up there on the outside, who was just a little bit loose and wasn't able to give all that room down low as we ride on board. So I think that was the result there. You see just a little bit loose, not up towards the wall, and Gage Anderson definitely thought he was going to run up towards that wall. You see on board there is the aftermath. Two cars just trying to occupy the same piece of real estate, guys.
Yeah, same piece of real estate. You can't put two cars there, as these guys have unfortunately found out. Josh, outside, on that exit of turn 4, further up the field, we were watching Christian Gomez and Sean Campbell battle it out. Christian Gomez actually had a little bit of oversteer himself, but really able to manage it pretty effectively with either a little bit of throttle and steering input, and it made it look like that car was just sort of sliding out to that outside wall, doing a little bit of a four-wheel drift. So that's a guy that knows his car control skills in this series, and that's why he's running up at the front now. And actually now on my screen, I've got Christian Gomez in front of Sean Campbell. So it looks like at the line Sean Campbell had it, but that might just be one of those iRacing timing glitches, and it sorts itself out within a lap or two. But you'll look a little back further in the field and see which car has made his way up there right now to be 4th in class, and that's Jared Kaler. Had an amazing restart that time out, and he's moved up a handful of positions to be right in striking distance for that top 3.
Yeah, he has not wasted a lot of time trying to get up. He knows that he doesn't have to win. He just needs to be top 4 or top 10 in some scenarios. We talked about how Christian Gomez finishes for FIU. We'll determine that. So, very exciting to see. And guys, it could be a unique situation where, say that Esteban Munoz, also in this race, finds himself in a solid position at the end. That could be something to take hold of. So, all these guys trying to run through the scenarios, figure out, how they can hedge their bets. A little bit of a benefit to being a multi-car team like Panther Esports, because Jared Kaler, no stranger to doing it himself, won the Pilot Series Championship, our very first season here for CIL.
Yeah, and beat me to that championship as well by, I think, just 1 point or so at Daytona Road. Might have been a couple points, but that was a great battle with Jared back in that season, and it's displaying an immense amount of car control on the road side from a number of different tracks that we went to, whether it be Spa or Daytona Road or Imola or Monza. He absolutely dominated a lot of those races As we're watching Nick Beaver right now, our local expert, I would say, in short track racing. Maybe not quite 1 mile track racing, but certainly an expert of the short tracks. And Nick Beaver having a good night here so far, moving up a handful of positions, sitting in 9th right now, moved up from 23rd. It got involved in that earlier instant. I think that was about lap 12 or so. He got turned around, had to take that fast repair, but he has recovered pretty well so far. Now he's got Michael Kaholich behind him for company. So 2 really fast guys here as we get going for this restart again.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough to see what happens here. So I wonder if the 95 will get a good start, if Gomez can slot in behind him. My concern for Gomez would be if he tries to fight too long on the outside, it would not be hard for Sean Campbell. You see there in that 30 machine to get right on by, find a little hole. So going to have to be some mind games and some smart plays from the guys up front, especially that Panther Esports team. And I guess we'll find out in about 1 turn here when we pick up this green flag. The lights are off on the pace car. He'll slide off into turn into the pit lane, and we'll see what these guys do.
Gomez shooting for that top spot, because then that means Kaler needs to finish 6th or worse instead of 10th or worse.
Ready,
If
green
Gomez
flag.
was finished in second, Gomez tries to jump the start, and he'll get a good one anyways. They're going to be side by side at the stripe. Gomez going to dive it off into turn 1, but watch Ryan Fenty right behind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ryan
and
Fenty
actually-
right there. Contact a little bit. Gives a door going out into the final, or into the first turn. Second turn there. Down through the dog leg, so it'll be Christian Gomez on the outside, but not quite clear yet. And so he will have the preferred line. Can he manage the traction off the corner? You see him from the high line come down to the low line, try and straighten that exit out as much as he can. It looks like the 65 will get that clean air that he wants so badly. You see on your screen a couple cars back. That's the UNC Charlotte machine. Carl Lemkool going to try to hang out there. No, you can see cars with that red banner around him. So Carl Lemkool has the stage to himself in his class for the time being. You can see that Sean Campbell from Randolph and Ryan Fenty from St. Joe's, they're trying to do battle. As I say that, maybe a little bit of a tough turn there for the 26 machine. Jared Kaler through around the high side, actually 3 wide through the middle. Double overtake for Jared Kaler in the 58 machine. And guys, it sounds like with 15 to go, we're going to see Kenny Brown pulled down to the apron.
Yeah, 7th caution here tonight, 15 to go. You know, when Gomez executed that pass on the 095, as we watch what happened here with Kenny Brown just real quickly. So he's down there on the low line. Let's see if he's going to get loose here as he puts the throttle down. And yep, that's exactly what happens. And snapbacks the other way. A little bit too much correction in the steering. Looks like the 112 machine, Jeremy Rogers for A&M University getting collected there. The worst of the cars that got collected, but a handful of others in there as well. But just back to that earlier thought, Gomez on that restart and getting around the alumni car of Carl Lemkool just absolutely trusted those rear tires when he put that throttle down getting out of 4th. And it was an incredible acceleration off the corner that he got just to really stretch that gap into turn 1, but in front of that 095 machine. Really impressive from the FIU team.
Yeah, certainly. Solid driving, and you can tell these guys have been practicing, preparing for this all race long. Be really curious to see who comes down pit road, if there's anybody here. It looks like actually these guys will come down, get their tires. So you can see FIU coming down all alone, deciding that he's going to take those tires. Don't know if he anticipated coming in just by himself. We'll have to see what he does, but that could be a little bit of an issue for those guys, that Panther Esports team.
Yeah, the only other cars coming down here are Colby Sherwood and then the other injured cars after that incident. So interesting strategy. This can still play out in Gomez's favor if there is a big wreck up front, but it does not look amazing from this position for Gomez. But that being said, Jared Kaler had moved up to 3rd, so that was already the championship one from him if he was able to stay there. So maybe in Gomez's mind, he's just going for an alternate strategy and trying to put himself in with that sort of outside chance of really taking a big win here at the end and really banking on an additional pace car outing. But we'll have to stay tuned and see if that happens. For now, he's going to join up on the back of the field, behind the 69 machine of Alejandro Diaz and behind a whole handful of cars in front of him. So he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, certainly. But I'll tell you, a couple cars and teams that have been playing with that top 10. You can see Henry Morse, top 10 as well, out the front of that Panther Esports machine. The second UC Berkeley car, Alejandro Diaz. Fast all season and quick tonight. has been the UC Berkeley cars. A couple of drivers making the most of what they got and putting on a good showing for that UC Berkeley school. Carl Lemkool, though, back at the front as we ride on board with Virginia, the University of Virginia, fielding also 2 cars here in this one. So, guys, really cool to see the mix of multi-car teams. In fact, looks like nose to tail right now, the University of Virginia. So a couple of teammates with options here, riding on board with Cal State Long Beach in position with all the fenders on that car to find the Alumni Championship this evening. So a couple storylines developing, and we are about 12 or 10 laps away when we go green to find out who is in victory lane.
Yeah, absolutely. So not green this time by, but perhaps next time by, those pace car lights will go out. And just a quick check on that track temperature, and still in that 130-degree region. So still an absolutely scorching track here, absolutely punishing these tires with a little bit of wind, but not anything to really upset these cars or take any of the heat away from this track in an 80-degree ambient temperature, though I would kill for that here in Texas. It probably feels pretty decent in Phoenix, but these guys are certainly feeling that track temperature affect these tires. Even a few laps in, we're watching guys start to get really loose, and it's certainly affecting these tires pretty negatively. Everybody able to manage it fairly well on corner entrance, so while the understeer is present, it's at least manageable, but guys are really struggling with that throttle application there on exit. Outside of Gomez on that overtake that we talked about earlier, just absolutely planting the throttle and finding plenty of grip where nobody really is able to find any all night long, but able to stick his car up in front. But we'll see how that alternate strategy works out, Jared, as this pace car is going to dive down for us.
Yeah, so pay attention. Jared Kaler in 3rd. Christian Gomez restarting back there in 15th. So needing a little bit of help. Carl Lemkool in control of this restart, but pay attention to Sean Campbell on the outside. We've seen him get excellent runs. Great restart again for Lemkool. And they're going to slide in single file. Jared Kaler 2x2 with Ryan Fenty as they head into 1.
Down side by side, you mentioned it, as Randolph now the leader for his class, and Sean Campbell and then Ryan Fenty on the outside. Jared Kaler in the grass has to lift a little bit. The Wolfpack and the Bison trying to look around on the outside. They'll have that high line as you see Kaler do a good job of straightening up that corner, but will it be enough for the 58 as the yellow? And guys, I'm seeing Virginia turned around this time. Really interested to see how he came to be in that situation. And big contact from the 69 machine of Alejandro D.C. Burke. Big contact, guys. I wonder if he missed a braking point or if there's some previous entry there, but that was pretty excited and a pretty hot entry from that UC Berkeley machine we had just talked about. They've been pretty quick. Maybe he was trying to make a move on the low side. We've seen drivers do that, but that was a lot of car to get stopped, especially like we had seen that mid-corner. So, yeah, tough play there, and Virginia coming out on bottom.
Yeah, coming out on bottom, not a great move there at all. Just sent that car in there and expecting it to stick, and there was no way that was ever going to stick at 130-degree track temp. When you've got well over 3,000 pounds of cup car that you're trying to slow down, you got to get on the brakes nice and early, and the Virginia car gave him plenty of space on the inside, so definitely cannot blame Avery Walker for that one. That one is all going to be on Alejandro Diaz, I'm afraid. But let's see how that plays for Christian Gomez. He's in 13th now after that incident with 8 to go. It's not looking great for him. So remember on that restart, Jared Kaler getting up into the door with, I forget who exactly it was. It might have been Ryan Fenty actually squeezing him down as they came through the dog leg. But Kaler, knowing that this championship is at stake, just very calmly backed out of the throttle, got the car in a straight line, then got back on track as cleanly as he could, and that only netted him a few positions lost after that one, so he's in 6th overall right now. Technically that would be 5th in class, with Carl Lemkool currently leading the alumni field in an overall podium position up there at the front. So unless there's a big incident and Jared Kaler's involved in it, I don't know if this championship can go Gomez's way, Jared.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and I bet he's kicking himself a little bit after seeing that incident, dropping Kaler all the way to 6th. He was up there in 1st and 2nd, might have been able to sneak up there and hang on those old tires. But like you said, Kaler was up there in 5th or closer. He needed some kind of alternate strategy, so I don't blame him going down pit road and getting those tires. Is Gomez. And we'll see. He's going to have a little shootout here if we can stay green. That's what he's going to need, is green flag laps. and he's going to need to get it done quickly. Josh?
Yeah, not a lot of time here, guys. He might need a little bit of help from circumstances as well. You see pace car going around with 7 to go. It'll be 6 to go when they get to the line, and that won't be the green flag. So probably going to go green with at least 4 or 5 to go. It won't be a green-white checkered, but it will be close to the end. So these guys are all trying to understand their options and figure out where they can fit in, guys. We've seen Michael Koholich typically up near the front, back in 8th. I talked about Henry Morse down in 9th. See if he can get around. Nick Beaver has been in that P4, P7 range the entire time. As you see there, your current championship leader as they run, Jared Kaler, UNC Charlotte. Guys, he just wants that clock to run out.
Yeah, he's watching that clock like a hawk right now, I am sure, just trying to count these laps down. And we say that safety cars breed safety cars, especially in Formula One. That is especially true in NASCAR, and especially true when you're underneath 10 to go here at the end of the race with the championship on the line. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if we saw a 9th caution come out tonight from guys getting really aggressive here on these restarts. But Jarrett, speaking of restarts, we've been watching Carl Lemkool take away these last couple of restarts and doing a really effective job at it, emulating what Austin Farr used to do and taking a really early restart, and he's been leaving the field behind every time he does it.
He's been doing a great job, and let's see if he can get one more done under his belt. He is not the control car here. The control car, Sean Campbell in the 30. So we'll see the 30 shoot off. We'll see if the 095 can stick with them. The 30 can jumble the field up a little bit. Little brake check there. Some tires spinning. It is chaos there at the front.
Chaos it is, and Lemkool back there, not even 3rd place. Looks like several cars will get by. The Wolfpack by, Fenty by for St. Joe, the Bison underneath, and now Carl Lemkool still the leader of the alumni, but not of the race. Sean Campbell in another zip code currently, and you can see there the 26 has a mirror full, guys. The Wolfpack trying to get through. He knows that it's an opportunity to get every last championship point for the season. They've worked hard all season to put themselves in position. 4 to go this time by as we follow your leaders. And it looks like trouble across the front stretch. I see Esteban Munoz, and Scott Ratliff sliding across the front. Guys, looks like trouble here. Munoz tried to get inside, and I'm not sure that was the time to go 3 wide. And I'm not sure if everybody listened to their spotters in that instance.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like it. We'll watch that one back here again. So guys are already pretty tight here as they exit 4. So Kenny Brown gets a touch there and has to come down, and Esteban Munoz is already there. So a little bit too close of racing here across the front stretch. You can kind of understand it when you're mid-corner going 3 wide and guys touch a little bit. When you're going across the start-finish line, a little bit harder to understand that one, and especially with a few laps left to go, that was a pretty big risk move to be making up there. And though during that restart, I had my eyes glued to Christian Gomez to see what he's doing, and he was making aggressive moves, trying to make his way up the field, currently sitting in 11th for the time being, and I'm imagining we will get a green-white checker this time by, or not this time by, but to restart this. We'll take a look here and see what actually happens, but yeah, it's not looking great for that 65 machine so far, but if Jared Kaler gets tipped around and Christian Gomez is able to capitalize a whole bunch of positions, we've seen crazier things happen in racing. We'll keep our eyes peeled for it and see if it happens here tonight, but for now, up at the front of the field, Sean Campbell looking good so far. And we watched Carl Lemkool in that last restart, Jarrett, get a little bit delayed. I think he tried to jump the start initially and was unsuccessful at that. And as soon as he backed out of the throttle, that's when Sean Campbell went. So he was on the back foot that whole time. And that bunched up the guys behind him like Alexander Klenk, Nick Beaver, and Jared Kaler. And probably a little bit of damage on that bodywork of those cars.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, just how critical those restarts are, and now that the track's so hot, the tires are worn down, restarts become a little bit tougher. Tires might spin a little bit in 2nd gear, maybe even 1st gear some of these guys might be using. That's tough to do, but we might see someone try it here in this final restart. 9 cautions here tonight, over 60-ish laps at Phoenix Raceway. Right now, Sean Campbell holding on to the top spot, but pay attention to Ryan Fenty back there in 2nd, and guys, don't count out Matthew Nordberg. He's quietly been making his way up through the field back there for NC State. Josh?
Well, and if he can get a good restart here, he'll be the first car on the inside line following Sean Campbell. So I did note that a little bit of discussion with bumpers under caution for the Virginia machine of Avery Walker and Grant Lemkool there from St. Louis University. So maybe a little bit of disagreement on how they got to the yellow flag. But the drivers in the championship race, we've seen it in iRacing, we've seen it on TV, that sometimes these races give everybody a little spike of adrenaline. Guys, I think I have a little bit of the same thing up here in the booth as we come up on this green white checkered.
Yeah, an exciting finish coming up here for sure in the CIL Oval Series finale. And we had a great finale last week out in that Road Series, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more of the same here. So, guys, not quite paired up yet. I think we'll go by one more time. And it looks like Nick Trollman might be in a good enough position to win that alumni category. I'm not entirely sure on that one, guys. We'll have to do some points calculations. But with 3 wins in the last 3 races underneath his belt, that actually puts him in a really good spot. He missed race 2, and so the point standings do not exactly accurately reflect just how fast that race car is. And with one drop week, that second race that he did not finish in will get dropped. That 0 points will go away, and then I think that might just be enough for him to clinch the alumni championship. But we'll bring you that information when we know it for sure after this is all done and settled. But for meanwhile, Jarrett up at the front, it's going to be Sean Campbell leading Ryan Fenty away here at this green-white checker.
Yeah, we still got a little more battle to do here in Phoenix. The 30, the 26, and the 76. Students vying for one last win here in Season 2. Back there in 7th overall, 6th in the students is Jared Kaler, your points leader. And back there at 9th in class, 10th overall is Christian Gomez, 2nd in points. So he's going to need a miracle here in these last couple of laps. Pace car going to take that left-hand turn on the pit road for the last time here tonight, and we'll get green one more time. Green Randolph flag. Community College in the lead. He will take the green flag, and a good jump right there, the 26 and a slide on in, but here comes Matthew Nordberg on that inside, and Nordberg with a shot out of a cannon into turn 1.
Nordberg a little late to find the brake pedals. Now he's going to find the back bumper of that Fenty machine, and right down, putting a solid block on Worcester Polytechnic. You see him there on the yellow and blue. They'll try to go low. Everybody hard on the brakes, trying to get those stock cars stopped. They touch. This flag could end the race. Everybody takes evasive action. You see Christian Gomez there trying to make it through, get every last spot. Scott Ratliff around from Pittsburgh State. That will be the official caution. That will be the official race. But guys, really tough move there, and you had to send it on the last lap, but really tough choice there from Nordberg to get in and then get alongside, ultimately getting turned. But you can be aggressive, guys, but it might end like that. So looks like right now, guys, we're gonna take a moment to cross the line, but Sean Campbell scored as your race winner, and Carl Lemkool for your alumni as well.
Yeah, Carl Uncle. So this should put Kaler in with enough points to win that championship without any issue. Gomez at that restart was trying real hard, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the standings would be set as soon as that caution flag flew, but I don't think there would be too much shift up there at the front of the field. I think it would still be Campbell, Fenty, Clank, and Kaler up at the front. So we'll have to take a look and be 100% sure on that one. But a valiant effort, Josh, from Gomez and that FIU team.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can ask for much more. They tried the strategy. They tried the alternate strategy. Christian Gomez, phenomenal driving from Christian Gomez that we saw tonight. And guys, he's going to feel the sting of defeat, but should not. Has given his best effort and has done everything in his power to find the success with that team, and has done a phenomenal job to grow his effort and that of Panther Esports there at FIU, and they will be a staple for a long time to come in this group.
So drivers finishing on up here, we're going to see some celebrations, I'm sure, from Sean Campbell and Randolph Community College, and it looks like they're off to attempt the Phoenix jump, so to speak. Alexander Klink on his backside, and Jared Taylor burning down on the front straightaway. Good to see him celebrating that student championship.
Absolutely. We talked about these guys spending all week and all season trying to put themselves in a position. He's done it. He's earned it. Jared Kaler becomes, for UNC Charlotte, the first to win 2 championships here in CIL winning in the pilot season and now the first oval season for that team. So fantastic move, and congratulations to UNC Charlotte.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. He ran a great race tonight and had a great season all night, or all season long, I should say. So your top 10 unofficial results so far here tonight, that's going to be Campbell for Randolph College winning this one overall. Ryan Fenty, and then Alexander Klenk for WPI in third. And then Jared Kaler there in fourth for UNC Charlotte, also your overall champion of the CIL Oval Series. Michael Kaholich for San Angelo State in fifth. Carl Lemkool in sixth for St. Louis, and then that is your overall alumni, or sorry, not overall, specifically the alumni class winner here tonight. Christian Gomez for FIU, a valiant effort for him, but ultimately not just quite enough to take that championship away from Jared Kaler. So Matthew Norbert is going to finish eighth here tonight. And then Henry Morse for UC Berkeley and Nick Beaver for North Dakota State. That is your top 10. Then on to Nick Trollman, who likely, I suspect, has won this alumni championship for Cal State Long Beach. And then 12th, Jeremy Rogers, close behind that Texas A&M alumni machine. Gage Anderson, another Texas car, but this time UT Arlington in 13th. Ryan Lusich in 14th for North Texas. Avery Walker for Virginia in 15th. Jarek Jennings in 16th for Grand Canyon State, and then Colby Sherwood for The Ohio State, and Kenny Brown in 18th for Virginia. And then on to Alejandro Diaz for UC Berkeley, Thomas Toomey for Virginia, Scott Ratliff for Pittsburgh State, Grant Lemkool, the brother of Carl Lemkool, in for St. Louis University, Esteban Munoz, FIU, John Tyndall, VCU, Nathan Cool, Bemidji State, and then Jeff Pete finishing out our running order here tonight from Minnesota Twin Cities.
So joining us up in the booth is Christian Gomez from the FIU Panther Esports team. And Christian, it was just kind of too little too late, but a great run for Panther Esports. Talk us through the whole season overall, especially those middle races, you know, where you guys were just vying for points, and you had a couple really good runs there. We talked about your win there as well. So take us through that.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for setting up such a great championship. All the sponsors that support the series. I'd like to thank FIU and Panthers Esports for the opportunity to represent them on this stage. And yeah, we had, for a first season for our program, we had a lot of success, a lot of podiums, lots of a win in the Oval Series, and just, you know, like you said, too little, too late in this one. The reason I went in, I was beating the car to death on the outside lane. It was making it looser, so I guess that was helping. And yeah, I was just trying to do something different, just trying to really, you know, just I don't want to go because if I stayed up there, you saw what happened to Carl there. He just slid back. Sean eventually got to him. I didn't want to be defenseless. I wanted to be able to attack, you know, beyond the offensive, and that's always what I try to do. And it just it wasn't meant to be today. Just a lot of yellows that took away lots of opportunities there for me to gain more positions on the fresh tires. And overall, I mean, we got the top 10 at least, but definitely a little bit deserved. And even then, I don't think I would have been able to hold off Sean. Even if I finished second, K would finish seventh, so wouldn't have meant anything. So it's fortunate, but it is what it is. We'll regroup. We'll try better for next season.
Yeah, you always got season 3 to look forward to, but still got to say, man, great race here tonight, and great job from the entire FIU organization to put on a great season overall, as you just talked about. So, yeah, I totally understand that alternate pit strategy and trying to make something happen, but it seemed like, unfortunately, when those yellows did come out, they were just a little bit further back in the field, so Jared Kaler was kind of unaffected by them. So talk me through that last restart there. I saw you getting pretty aggressive, trying to dive in deep on the brakes. Did you think you had even an outside shot there on that last green-white checker?
I just wanted to finish ahead of Kaler, out of principle, honestly. That was just all I was trying to do. I now know who he is. I know how he's going to win these things, so stay tuned for Season 3, folks. It's going to get entertaining. And, yeah, honestly, look, if that found anything can happen. I was just trying to push everything I got, tried, just, you know, I was inside, outside, 4 wide, I think, on that last corner there, just trying to get anything out of it, and yeah, just fortunate.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think we hear you, but congratulations to yourself, Panther Esports, and FIU on what really is a stellar season. We saw, your team progress. We saw you progress, and I know a lot of racers that would love to be, newly formed and then come away with a second place earning there for the season. So naturally, the feelings, but congratulations certainly. And we're gonna look for you up top of the race results and the season results for season 3. Christian and Panther Esports, great work, really.
We'll be back. We'll be back. Thanks, guys.
All right, so that was Christian Gomez, and you heard just a tough way to go out, but definitely something to hang your hat on as the Panther Esports team. And you mentioned it, newly formed, and they came in and they went to work. They went to work on both the oval and the roadside.
They absolutely went to work on both sides of CIL here, and you would be gutted after becoming so close. But that's just the point, guys. They were so close in their first season and learning how these oval races worked, how they developed the races themselves, and how the season can develop. And so, we talk in these races about who we have our eye on or who's going to be a force next season. And squarely at the front of that conversation, I think we have to include Christian Gomez and the team there at Panther Esports and Florida International University.
And joining us up in the booth is Carl Lemkool, joining us from St. Louis University and the alumni winner here tonight. Carl, how does that one feel?
Oh, it's very exciting. I'm happy to be joining you guys in the booth for the first time. That was a quite a race, very eventful on many fronts, but it ended up being that early pit stop and the choice to stay out there in the end that won it for me. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's really, really clean, good, tight racing with those guys at the front.
And tell us how we saw a couple restarts. So tell us your strategy on those restarts, especially alongside Christian Gomez at one point from FIU. What did you think about letting him go? Did you think about trying to lead and work together? Walk us through that, because a couple of times you guys shared some paint.
Yeah, we sure did. And props to him. He is, before I answer that question, he is a fantastic racer. I was just having so much fun, like just rubbing a little bit of paint, but not enough that it was causing either of us to spin out. So I hope he found it as respectful as well. But to answer your question, I was trying to vary it up. So I knew that the first few restarts were kind of later down the front finish line. And then I ended up going really early with my first one. My goal was to lead and just keep as much track position as possible and basically just do damage limitation for my strategy to not fall down and let the other alumni catch up, try to keep the win. So that first one I went real early and it ended up working out. Was able to keep the lead. And then I think he got it back on one of them, and then I got it back again. I think one of them ended up pitting. But I honestly just going early seemed to work really well. It seemed like I caught him sleeping a few times, but then I also got caught sleeping myself. So it was a lot of good give and take up at the front. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it reminded me of those restarts from Austin Farr that we used to see, where he would go way ahead of where everybody else expected to, and he was able to lead into turn one. So I think you mimicked that strategy pretty effectively here, Carl. But Carl, tell me a bit about your motion rig. Tell me how that affects the way you drive this car. Do you think it gives you more information when you're entering a corner or a mid corner? Does it help you control the car at all? Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if you guys can see here, but I got it's called SFX 100. So it's 4 inches of travel, and they're 750 watt motors. So it's got some kick, especially doing that jump at the end. It really throws you around. But when in a more static racing situation, a couple things. So number one, you can really feel the car tilt on the banking into the corner, which doesn't necessarily give you any useful information. You can really feel the rumble strips. And I would say no, at least the way I have it set up right now, it doesn't give me a ton of useful information. But what it does is it just kind of throws you around and makes it really intense. And if I'm being honest, I think it's a little bit of a handicap because it kind of makes it a little bit harder to hold on. Like it's not super stable and precise. You kind of have to ride the beast a little bit. But there are definitely certain situations where like the car's snapping loose and the rear end will pop up or something, and it does give some haptic feedback that can be really useful. But for me, what it's ultimately all about is immersion and just making it a really like intense, engaging experience. So that's kind of what I've gone for here.
Well, intense, engaging, and that's your first win in the CIL, I believe. So, who do you want to give a
Yes,
shout
sir.
out to here on the broadcast?
Oh man, so many people. And most of them are a big part of the CIL community. And that's one part I've really enjoyed about racing with you guys is the community you've put together. It has been absolutely fantastic. Love racing against these guys. It can get a little tight and chippy during the races, but that's to be expected. Tempers run high. A couple people in particular, I want to thank Jeremy Rogers, really helpful on the road side for setups. I was really hoping my first victory would be a road one, but hey, I'll take what I can get. I also want to thank Ted Burns, who's given me some really useful real life opportunities that I think mean a lot to me. Just the rest of the community for being a really really fun place to hang out while I work at day during the day, allegedly, of course. But yeah, big thanks to you guys putting on a fantastic show as always. Looking forward to my Wednesday morning tradition of watching the broadcast back.
Well, I tell you what, I'm sure you're going to enjoy this one. So, Carl Lemko, congrats again on that win, and go enjoy it here tonight.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good one.
Carl puts that VR headset back on, and guys, I think he might be saddling up for some more racing. Can't get enough here tonight.
Yeah, I think he was pretty stoked this win for this win, and rightfully so. And the first brother duo that we've seen, a Michael and Ralph Schumacher situation, with his brother Grant hopping in this hot seat for this one as well. But yeah, great win and well deserved for St. Louis.
So next into the booth is Nick Trollman in the 000 car. Nick Trollman, your alumni champion. And Nick, how does that one feel? Let's get your gut reaction.
Oh, it feels wonderful, I gotta tell you. Nothing better than a big old W. Now that I got that out of the way, I felt a little too full of myself. But no, it feels good. Had a great time this season. And was just glad to be racing with everybody. It was a great experience. And again, I'm looking forward to doing it next season.
Yeah,
Well, that's awesome.
Sorry, go ahead there, Josh.
Yeah, walk us through how you feel like the season transpired and what was it for you? We're looking at the scorecard here. You had 3 wins in a row, race 3, 4, 5. So I tell you what, were you disappointed not to come away with the checkered flag here?
Well, to be honest, I thought I might be able to pull a little trick and get another win, but didn't quite work out. Carl had crazy pace. He was up there the whole time. I saw him. I think it was P1 for a good chunk of the race. So, good for him. I'd rather him have it. So forgot what the first part of that question was.
No worries, man. Well, either way, those 3 wins that you had this season were pretty dominant. But do you think you can continue that next season? Do you plan to continue into season 3 and show some of these students how it's done here?
Well, I mean, that's the game plan going into it. I mean, we'll see what transpires. There's some fast people over there in the student class, and I'm looking forward to fighting them in the Alumni Points Championship. I know we got a good handful of folks that are graduating. And again, just looking forward to some hard racing with them.
Well, Nick, a good season overall for you. Tell us who helped you out this season. Who do you want to give a big shout out to as we wrap up season 2?
Just the guys that I raced with every week. Probably too many to name. If I name them, I'll miss one of them. But and then of course all the folks that would tune in, watch me, family out there, parents, cousin, you name it. It's a great production you guys put on, and always like sharing it around. It's fun watching.
Well, fun watching you guys put on the battles you do week in and week out. Congrats on that alumni championship, and go enjoy it tonight.
Well, thank you guys. Have a good one.
So that's Nick Trollman, your alumni champion in the 000, and you're at 3 wins in a row. Almost made it 4, but Carl Lemkool playing spoiler here tonight at Phoenix. Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Carl Lemkool getting the victory here, and you heard Cal State Long Beach pretty appreciative. He was a fan himself, I think. We talked about consistency in Kaler's performance and Gomez's performance, but consistency. The car you're looking at, the 000, has been in victory lane for the last 3 races. Oh, and by the way, started with a P3. So, not finishing outside the top 3 positions all season long, yeah, that's going to take you a long way. So stellar performance to Nick Trollman in that Cal State Long Beach machine.
And the final driver joining us up in the booth tonight is your student champion, and it's the 2-time now champion, Jared Kaler, joining us now for UNC Charlotte. And Jared, what a wild one that was to watch. How was it out on track?
Oh, it was crazy. I want to first apologize to Christian for that bump I gave him at the start that kind of sent him around. I think there was a lap car kind of spinning out there and kind of checked up a bit, and I didn't quite get the memo and kind of hit him a bit. So I apologize to him for that. But it was crazy, especially after pitting and just coming back and being that 7th to 10th range. And I was just watching everyone in front of me just beat and bang all over the place, and that was I was like, man, I'm glad I'm back here just watching this instead of up there in the middle of that. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun from up here in the booth. So about mid-race, when I think Gomez decided to stay out and kind of retain that lead that he had, and you guys were on a different pit strategy, were you ever concerned at any point that you thought that he might be able to come back and take this one away?
A little bit. I think that when he pitted after that, that was kind of a questionable call because I think he probably could have stayed up at the front with all the caution laps that we were having at that time. And when I pitted, I didn't feel like I had that much of an advantage when I put on the new tires. So I was a bit confused when he pitted. But yeah, I was starting to sweat a little bit when he was up there battling for the lead, and like I said, I was back in that 7th to 10th range. I'm like, okay, maybe I should start picking it up a bit.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of what I was thinking was when you set up this race and as you went through, you chose how to conserve fuel, tires, and when to come to pit road. Did you feel like you controlled your own strategy, or did you kind of have to follow the rest of the leaders come to pit road when they did? How autonomous were you in your choices there?
I kind of had a baseline game plan that I wanted to follow coming in the race. I kind of knew that maybe around lap 30, around the halfway mark, would be a good chance to pit and put on the new tires. And that's kind of what I did. We got that caution around lap like 29 or 30 or 31. So that was perfect. And then I was going to save that set of tires if we had a green flag run and then a late race caution, kind of use that set of tires. But we never quite got as many green flag laps as I was kind of hoping for to use that second set of tires. So I just stayed out on the racetrack for the rest of the race.
Definitely, and it turned into quite the smart move. Last thing, and then we'll send you to your championship celebration. Talk us through what it takes to be not only an oval champion, but a road guy as well. We see you dabble in both of them and do quite well in both of them. So talk us through what that takes.
I mean, the cars are totally different. The stock cars versus the GT cars. They're totally different in how you have to drive them, and it's just kind of adapting to those driving styles, and then mainly just, I think, staying out of trouble and being consistent through the whole season. You could have one bad race with the drop, but you can't have any more mistakes after you make that one drop. So I think the big thing is just really being consistent throughout the whole season. When I won the road series, I wasn't really the fastest there. I just kind of minimized the mistakes I made and just kind of came out on top on that one. And I think it was a similar situation here. I only won a couple of races, but besides that, I was just trying to minimize the amount of mistakes that I made to get the best finish, race in and race out.
Definitely. Well, it's going to end up with you as the champion. So congrats, buddy. Who do you want to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to you guys for putting on the season. Of course, NextBookIt and Innovative Labs for supporting the series. It's really cool to have them on board, and of course, my family and friends for supporting me through the season. And I look forward to getting back at it next time.
Well, congrats again, and I'm sure we're going to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
So that's Jared Kaler, your student champion here tonight, and he survived. You heard it. Had the game plan going in. I think that's smart. We ran you through the points situations, so to speak, and like you said, you could see up in front of him that Gomez was there. He was starting to fight for that first spot, and as soon as he got that first spot, then all of a sudden Jared Kaler had to finish 5th or above, and then it started getting tight in his mind, I'm sure. Guys?
Yeah, it got really tight really quick for him indeed. Jared, I think throughout that interview, there was only one thing he said that I really disagreed with, and that's when he said that he wasn't the fastest guy on the roadside. I know quite a few guys that would probably disagree. I disagree with that one. I raced him in the pilot season and found him to be a mighty competitor, winning that pilot season road championship as well. So I think he's not giving himself enough credit and his abilities to adapt that driving style like he's talked about in both cars. Yes, the stock cars drive fundamentally different than the GTE cars and the GT3 cars, but at the end of the day, the car control is what enables you to drive these cars quickly, and he has that car control absolutely nailed here. And Josh, I can't pick a better student championship to finish this season 2 out with.
Agreed. You're hard pressed to pick a better option there. Jared Kaler and has represented UNC Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte for quite some time here in the Collegiate iRacing League, and has always done so in a pretty admirable fashion. Has worked pretty well. I think that maybe with time we'll continue to look back at some of the events of these races. I know that FIU and UNC Charlotte may remember this race differently. Maybe even beyond this evening, but you can't argue with lap times and results. You see there in your same shot, the 65 and 58. Yeah, UNC Charlotte and Jared Kaler running quite well there. So absolutely congrats to Jared Kaler and UNC Charlotte.
And where would they be without NextBookIt and Innovative Labs, the two sponsors of the CIL Season 2? So we'll hear from NextBookIt, and we'll get you right back for some final thoughts here on Season 2. So as you just saw on your screen, NextBookIt connects book lovers with each other to buy and sell textbooks from from books, fiction, and textbooks, and everything in between. It was only inevitable that I screwed up this at least one time this season,
one time.
guys. But you be sure to check them out at nextbookit.com, and if you use the code CIL2021 when creating an account, CIL2021, they're going to put $5 toward the CIL Scholarship Fund, and that goes back to these drivers, whether they need a car, a track, something involved in the iRacing subscription service. We're able to provide that and keep these large fields. We had 26 drivers here tonight between students and alumni, and that's great to see here on iRacing, and NextBookIt providing all of that for us here tonight. And as we cross the finish line in Season 2, these guys on your screen crossing the finish line, like Josh said, in college. So Cody Fadenhauer, Alexander Clank, Colby Sherwood, Avery Walker, and Maximilian Bowie moving on. Alexander Clank actually going to stay in the student category as he continues his education, but all the other drivers you'll see on the alumni side in Season 3. So great for them. Always a fun time when you graduate college, and really something to celebrate here. So we want to give a special shout out to those 5 guys on your screen right now. Josh?
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. One of the major goals here in the Collegiate iRacing League, learning. We love that stuff. So congratulations again to the graduates you see there on your screen.
So as we wrap this one on up from Phoenix Raceway, John, what was your big takeaway from this one? Outside of the cautions, I think it kind of surprised us how many we had here tonight. But in terms of the driving on track, the racing on track, what was your biggest takeaway here tonight?
Yeah, well, we said it at the top of the broadcast that anything can happen when you come to these oval races, especially with the amount of cautions that we see and the way that can affect the race. You can get some pretty crazy results. And I know one guy that's going to be pretty happy with the podium here tonight. It's actually going to be Ryan Fenty. Started in 24th, made his way all the way up to second. I'm going to have to go back and watch his onboard because I'd be surprised to find him in the bumper or in the wall of any other car all night long. He ran a clean race and he was able to hang on to that for a podium position for that number 26 machine. So that was pretty impressive to me to start with. Alexander Clank as well. We talk about Jared Kaler being fast on the road and the oval side. That's another guy, Alexander Clank, that has really learned the ovals pretty well so far throughout this season. I don't think he did the first couple of races, but then gave it a shot, liked it, and now you see him finishing on the podium. So you see what you see with Jared Kaler working its way through with Alexander Clank. If those guys have the car control, they can figure out how to drive pretty much just any single car on the iRacing roster. So I'm looking forward to future seasons, watching those two guys battle it out in the student categories some more. But also watching, some guys have some struggles on corner exit. Josh was one of the key areas that I was focused on. Saw some guys get a little bit too aggressive with the throttle, lay down some big black 11s on the exits of turn 4 especially, and really struggle for that corner exit. So maybe guys just need to work a little bit more on that throttle patience in some case, and understand that when that track temp is 130 degrees, you're going to struggle for traction on exit.
Yeah, and that's a signature of this racetrack. Turn 4 is a little bit unique. Has a very mild banking on exit, so that car wants to step out. It wants to get in touch with that wall. So making sure that all 600 horsepower stay in line, and all, John, you mentioned it, all 3,000 pounds stay underneath the driver, trying to get up off that corner and then get into the gas. And that desert sun doesn't help, not in these conditions. So. That was the story, I think, for the race. And for me, the season, guys, looking back here, it was consistency. I mean, looking at the top, positions 2 through 4, very few race wins, in fact, 0 race wins between them. However, consistency put them up top, several second positions and several third position places, all keeping those cars under a blanket. The only one more consistent, Cal State Long Beach, your champion for the alumni that we mentioned, with 3 race wins. And then looks like he's going to have a P2 and a P3. That's going to be his 5 weeks that are scored across those 6 weeks. So, we're at a point, guys, where you get one drop, and any other mistakes or any other slips are going to affect your points opportunities.
Dan, you heard it from Jared Kaler right out of the mouth of the champion. He said, "Yeah, you just got to be consistent," and that paid off for not only him, but Nick Trollman and the rest of the guys in the top 3 in the student category as well. So congrats to all of them. So if you want a little more CIL action, we won't be on the track next week, but we'll have a special presentation next week, same time, same place. So be sure to tune in for that. We'll have some details on season 3, as well as a little special presentation here from season 2. So from all of us up here in the booth for one last time on season 2, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. That was a great run, and let's keep it going. And we'll see you all again soon.